Greetings, my fellow film movers and sound thinkers. It's LL3's News Podcast. My name is Trey, transmitting from the beautiful Smoky Mountains in South Florida. And today's date is Sunday, July 22nd, 2018. There's a train coming by right now. Woo! Sorry about that. So, yes, I am at Scooby's New York Pizzeria, located at 207 Southwest 2nd Street, or Himashi Drive, in the Himashi district of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Open from Tuesday to Sunday, 4:30 p.m. a.m. So if you got to do a quick bite, come on down. It's not corporate chain, so it's all well and good. Yeah, so it looks like a big thunderstorm went through here, and at least it cooled off a little bit. That would be hot baked later on. However, it's getting ready to cool down, so it's a good thing. Because it gets pretty damn hot around this time of the year. So that's how it goes. And I like watching some of the videos. I see this one from what's it called? Police photography is not a crime. And they had this one person claiming to be a stripper. She had like $20,000 in cash, and they seized it, but she has to prove it was her money, you know, which is pretty damn pathetic. It happened in Miami-Dade County, and the biggest mistake she made was going, okay, policy. There's no such thing as policy. You have your natural born rights. You don't have to show them anything. That's one thing that gets me hot, because you got these people out there who assume that they're above everybody. The police are just governmental delegates. Period. It's not condemning the police as a whole. But you got all these folks out here who just want to be a goody two-shoes, or Uncle Tom and Angel Mom to the system. Is what you get. It makes it more of a burden. I don't care if she's dancing and all that. I'm not saying anything bad, but when I'm like, these people need a good smack inside the head. With all due respect. And hopefully she learns from this. Anyone out there, I recommend you go to fairdui.org, and there's a nice little, good little website, and you can do the form. It tells you what you can do, which is legit. You don't have to say a damn thing to these people. Don't be friendly with these folks. They're there to investigate. They're there to see how many people they can arrest. They've been programmed to do that. Dale Carson's book, Arrest Proof Yourself, is a very good example, because the truth of the matter is, the man was a Miami police officer at one time, and he became an FBI agent and broke the Miami River Cops case wide open in the 80s. Look it up. It was very disturbing. This is one of those areas, my friend. You have those natural born rights. Seize your assets, and I know one thing, there's something about civil asset forfeiture. I believe it's considered illegal to an extent in Florida. So I recommend everyone start looking at these things and shove it down their throats. So you're not going to search anything in my damn vehicle. If you got a warrant, you have to have merit to back it up. You have another train coming by right now. I believe it happened like last week or a couple of weeks ago. But when I see this, I'm like, what the hell? And the person she was with is not that sharp either. He chose poorly. I'm not trying to criticize these. I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench at these people or say they're dumb, but they chose poorly. There's no such thing as tread on me will get you anywhere. Assume means no. Policies they have to open up the back trunk is illegal, null and void under Article 1, Section 12 of the Florida Constitution, or the 4th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. You can say refuse to consent. They can take their policies and shove it up their rectum. It's nothing more than used toilet paper, as far as I'm concerned. An abandoned outhouse or porta potty has greater attributes than that pathetic policy. So that's how I look at the world and how I look at these areas. Like on my show, yesterday's show, government's the enemy on liberty. Plain and simple. I'm going to have to share that or print it out and give it to some of these folks out there. Okay? None of their damn business what you do, or who you know, or who you BLOW, etc. As long as you're not violating others. Don't let these governmental delegates fear you. That's their greatest weapon. Just like the rest of the institution as a whole. And the prostituting attorneys. I don't want to use prosecutors, but prostituters. Well, you know, that's just one of those areas is a hot button for me. Truth, justice, and the goody two-shoes way get you nowhere. And I say that in good faith. Enough of my ranting on this topic. One of the areas I'm want to keep tabs on is in reference to Julian Assange. I know some people say he may be a Zionist, an operative, etc. But one thing you got to question about freedom of the press. WikiLeaks is considered to be a journalist, a website for journalists that want to push that envelope. Of course, everyone's wigging out, and you got people in government want to get rid of them, prosecute them, and all that, including Gas Sessions, Attorney General Gas Sessions, who's down like the Dumbo keyboard can, like little Glam Rainey twit that he is too. Yeah, I could criticize whoever the hell I want. Before I begin on narrating what's going on with Julian Assange, I was like watching this thing on The View. Whoopi Goldberg and Judge Jeanine Pirro had this little argument. The whole thing about Trump this, Trump that, one defends, one this. And Whoopi Goldberg just apologized for being a hot topic. She kicks her off the air, and people in the audience applaud it. It's like, who let the cows out? All you folks like that who want to watch this weak, pathetic TV show. This is one of the examples. It's when I go to the bathroom, it's in the toilet, I find them more enlightening and watch a show like that. Not impressed at all. I'm not a big fan of Judge Jeanine Pirro as well. I'll probably say hold all the world on stage, right? Yeah. Don't be surprised if that was scripted. Just to get those ratings going and have her sell those books. Allegedly speaking. Alright, so I'm going to be addressing here from The Intercept by Glenn Greenwald. He has a few of his controversies as well. However, there's a lot of areas he's spot on. And I'll be fair. And this is about Julian Assange. Ecuador will imminently withdraw asylum from Julian Assange and hand him over to the UK. What comes next? Came out yesterday afternoon. We'll just narrate this along the way. Ecuador's President Lenin Moreno, Lenin, interesting, traveled to London on Friday for an understandable purpose of speaking at the 2018 Global Disability Summit. Moreno has been using a wheelchair since being shot in a 1998 robbery attempt. The concealed actual purpose of the president's trip is to meet with British officials to finalize an agreement under which Ecuador will withdraw its asylum protection of Julian Assange, in place since 2012, eject him from the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and hand over the WikiLeaks founder to British authorities. Yeah, so how much gold, how much money you're getting out of this, buddy? Moreno's itinerary also notably includes a trip to Madrid, where he will meet with Spanish officials still seething over Assange's denunciation of human rights abuse perpetrated by Spain's central government against protesters marching for Catalonia independence. Almost 3 months ago, Ecuador blocked Assange from accessing the internet, and Assange has been not able to communicate with the outside world ever since. The primary factor in Ecuador's decision to silence him was Spanish anger over Assange's tweet about Catalonia. Oh, my heart bleeds. How sensitive. And there's all the links are right here on the President's decree signed on July 17th. Ecuador President Lenin Moreno outlined his trip to London and Madrid. I'm just wondering how far he's shining apples and licking his shoes just to get this. Possible bribery, indeed. A source close to the Ecuadorian Foreign Ministry and the President's office authorized to speak publicly has confirmed to The Intercept that Marino is also finalizing, if he was not already finalizing, an agreement to hand over Assange to the UK within the next several weeks. The withdrawal of Asylum and physical ejection of Assange could come as early this week. On Friday, RT reported that Ecuador was preparing to enter such agreement. The consequence of such an agreement depend in part on the concessions Ecuador asks in exchange for withdrawing Assange's asylum. That former Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa told The Intercept in an interview in May, Marino's government has returned to Ecuador to highly subservient, submissive posture towards Western governments. Yes, he's saying Marino is an Uncle Tom. Or bend over Bob to the New World Order, right? Yeah, that's possible as well. It is thus highly unlikely that Marino, who has shown himself willing to submit to threats and coercions from the UK, Spain, and US, will obtain a guarantee that the UK not extradite Assange to the US, where top Trump officials have vowed to prosecute Assange and destroy WikiLeaks. Sorry, I was going to blow back in your face to the Trump officials or President Trump. If you still support it, you should just step down immediately. The central idea of Assange's case has been effectively imprisoned for 8 years despite never having been charged with, let alone convicted of any crime. It's virtually certain to be prolonged once Ecuador hands him over to the UK. Even under the best case scenario, it appears likely that Assange will continue to be imprisoned by British authorities. The only known criminal proceedings Assange is currently facing pending is the 2012 arrest for failure to surrender, basically a minor bail violation that arose when he obtained asylum from Ecuador rather than complying with bail conditions by returning to court for a hearing on his attempt to resist extradition to Sweden. That offense carries a prison term of 3 months and a fine, though it is possible that the time Assange has already spent in prison in the UK could be counted against that sentence. In 2010, Assange was in prison in Wandsworth Prison, kept in isolation for 10 days until he was released on bail. He was then under house arrest for 550 days at the home of a supporter. Assange's lawyer, Judd Robinson, told The Intercept that he would argue that all of that prison time already served should count toward, and thus completely fulfill any prison term imposed on the failure to surrender charge. Though British prosecutors would almost certainly contest that claim. Assange would also argue that he had a reasonable valid basis for seeking asylum rather than submitting to UK authorities, namely well-grounded fear that he would be extradited to the US for prosecution for act of publishing documents. I'll tell you one thing, that would be a big mistake if they decided to extradite him to the United States. And Jeff Sessions and his lackey will get a lot more he can chew on. And had a lot of merit, okay? Beyond that minor change, British prosecutors could argue that Assange's evading of legal process in the UK was so protracted, intentional, and malicious that it rose beyond mere failure to surrender to contempt of court, which carries a prison term up to 2 years just on those charges alone. Then, Assange faces a high risk of detention for another year or even longer in British prison. Currently, that is the only known criminal proceeding Assange faces. In May 2017, Swedish prosecutors announced they were closing their investigation to a sexual assault allegation due to the futility of proceedings in light of Assange's silence at the time that has elapsed. The far more important question will determine Assange's future is what the U.S. government intends to do. The Obama administration was eager to prosecute Assange and WikiLeaks for publishing hundreds of thousands of classified documents, but ultimately concluded that there is no way to do so without either also prosecuting newspapers such as New York Times and The Guardian, which publish the same documents of created presidents that will be enabled to enable the criminal prosecution of media outlets in the future. Yeah, they want even the Obama administration was eager to prosecute him. They said ABC News poll, he was the best president we ever had. Another bend over Bob to the globalists, and has a fetish to be the merchants of death. Yeah, look that up. Indeed, it is technically a crime under U.S. law for anyone, including media outlets, to publish certain types of classified information. Under U.S. law, for instance, it's a felony for the Washington Post, David, Ignatius, who can report the contents of telephone calls intercepted by the NSA between the National Security Advisor nominee Michael Flynn and Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. Even though such reporting was clearly in the public street since it proved Flynn lied where he denied such contacts, I still say he's been scapegoated. That the U.S. Post and Ignatius, and not merely their source, violated U.S. criminal law by revealing the contents of intercepted communication with the Russian official is made clear by the text of Title 18, U.S. Code Section 798, which provides, emphasis added, wherever knowingly or willingly communicates or otherwise makes available to an unauthorized person or publishes any classified information obtained by the process of communication intelligence from the communication of any foreign government shall be fined under entitled or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. Very interesting indeed. You always got to look at these areas, you know? But the U.S. Department of Justice had never wanted to indict and prosecute anyone for the crime of publishing such material, containing themselves instead of prosecuting the government sources who leak it. Their reluctance has been due to two reasons. First, media outlets would argue that any attempt to criminalize the mere publication of classified or stolen documents is barred by the freedom of the press guaranteed of the First Amendment, a proposition the DOJ has never wanted to test. Second, though, DOJ has wanted as part of its legacy the creation of a president that allows the U.S. government to criminally prosecute journalists and media outlets for reporting classified documents. But the Trump administration has made it clear that they have no such concern. Quite the contrary, last April, Trump's and CIA Director Mike Pompeo, now his Secretary of State, delivered a deranged, rambling, highly threatening broadside against WikiLeaks. Without citing any evidence, Pompeo decreed that WikiLeaks is a non-state hostile intelligence service often debated by state actors like Russia, and thus declared we have to recognize that we can no longer allow Assange and his colleagues the latitude to use free speech values against us. What, he can't criticize the government? I'm sorry to hear about that, buddy boy. You should just get the hell out of here and go to South Africa for all I care, because they have that Communist Manifesto fetish right now. Longtime right-wing congressman, now one of Trump's most loyal and favored cabinet officials, who also explicitly rejected any First Amendment concerns, also prosecuted Assange, arguing that while WikiLeaks pretended America's First Amendment freedoms shield from justice, they may have believed that, but they are wrong. You deserve a penile microphone there, Junior. Pompeo then issued his bold threat to give them space to crush us with misappropriated secrets as a perversion of what our great Constitution stands for. It ends now. Well, stop playing a little game of imperialism and dictating to other governments how to live. Trump's Attorney General Jeff Sessions has similarly vowed not only to continue and expand Obama's DOJ's crackdown on sources, but also to consider the prosecution of media outlets that publish classified information. It would be incredibly shrewd for Sessions to lay the foundation for doing so by prosecuting Assange first, safe in the knowledge that journalists themselves consume with hatred for Assange due to personal reasons, professional jealousies, and anger over the role they believe he played in 2016 in helping Hillary Clinton lose, would unite behind the Trump DOJ in the support of his efforts to imprison Assange. During the Obama years, there was mainstream view among media outlets that prosecuting Assange would be a serious danger to press freedom. Even the Washington Post editorial page, which vehemently condemned WikiLeaks, warned in 2010 that any such prosecution will criminalize an exchange of information that put at risk all media outlets. They say, give the government an inch, they'll take a mile. When Pompeo and Sessions last year issued their threat to prosecute Assange, former Obama DOJ spokesperson Matthew Miller insisted that no such prosecution could ever succeed. You have this thing called jury notification. And it's interesting here, you can see it right here about Glenn Greenwald's posted down here in 2017. Pompeo also creepily vowed to end the use of free speech values by Assange's colleagues. How? And of course, breaking, CIA Director Pompeo is time to call out WikiLeaks for what it is, non-state hostile intelligence agency embedded by Russia. Matthew Miller says also how DOJ can't win a case against someone just publishing secrets. For years, the Obama DOJ searched for evidence that Assange actively assisted Chelsea Manning and other sources in the hacking or stealing of documents in order to prosecute them for more than merely publishing documents. Found no such evidence, but even that theory publisher of classified documents can be prosecuted for assisting a source. Would be a severe threat to press freedom, since journalists frequently work in some form of collaboration with sources who remove or disclose classified information, and nobody has ever presented evidence that WikiLeaks conspired with whoever hacked the DNC and forgets the emails in boxes to effectuate that hacking. But there's a seeming little question that, as Sessions surely knows, large numbers of journalists, along with many, perhaps most, Democrats would actually support the Trump DOJ prosecuting Assange for publishing documents. After all, the DNC sued WikiLeaks in April for publishing documents, a series of obvious threats to press freedom and few objectives. And it was Democratic senators such as Dianne Feinstein who, during the Obama years, were urging the prosecution of WikiLeaks with the support of numerous GOP senators. Yes, Dianne Feinstein is a Nazi sympathizer. Vagina, Jew name only. That's not being anti-Semitic, so don't even go there. There is no doubt that after the 2016 support among both journalists and Democrats for imprisoning Assange, the publishing documents will be higher than ever. If the U.S. did indict Assange for alleged crimes relating to the publication of the documents, or they have already obtained a sealed indictment, then it's used that indictment to request that the UK extradite him to the U.S. to stand trial. That alone would ensure that Assange remains in prison in the UK for years to come. Even the Tommy Robinson case is interesting too. It's like I said, war on the press, my friend, is happening worldwide. This is an example of what we're seeing. Assange would, of course, resist any such extradition on the ground that published documents not a compatible crime, that the U.S. is seeking an extradition for political charges that by treaty cannot serve as a basis for extradition, but will also take at least a year and probably closer for 2 to 3 years for UK courts to decide these extradition questions. And while all that lingers, Assange would almost be certainly be in prison, given that it's conceivable that a British judge will release Assange on bail and given what happened the last time he was released. If it means, all this means, that it is highly likely that Assange, under his best case scenario, faces at least another year in prison, will end up having spent a decade in prison despite never having been charged with, let alone convicted of any crime. He has been essentially punished in prison by process. And while it's often argued Assange has only himself to blame, it is beyond doubt, given the grand jury convened by the Obama DOJ, and now President Pompeo and Sessions, and that fear that led Assange to seek asylum in the first place, created extradited to the U.S. and politically persecuted for political crimes, as well as grounded. Assange, his lawyers and his supporters always said that he would immediately board a plane to Stockholm if they were guaranteed that doing so would not be used to extradite him to the U.S., and for years offered to be questioned by Swedish investigators inside the embassy in London, something Swedish prosecutors only did years later, citing those facts. A United Nations panel ruled in 2016 that the action of the UK government constituted arbitrary detention and violation of Assange's fundamental human rights. Yeah, you can even read the UK's constitution, for goodness sakes. Come on, it's so obvious. These people are so blatantly ignorant and stating that they're the government. They can do whatever they darn well please. You may call him a terrorist because he puts out stuff like this. It's just an example. Push that envelope, drive, and you consider the threat. They'll try to take you out or condemn you one way or the other. And if you hear some of my past shows, you understand where I'm coming from. As it seems quite likely the Trump administration finally announced that it intends to prosecute Assange for publishing classified U.S. government documents, will be faced with the bizarre spectacle of U.S. journalists who have spent the last 2 years melodramatically expressing grave concern over press freedom due to insulting tweets from Donald Trump and about both Blitzer and Chuck Todd, or his mistreatment of Jim Acosta, possibly cheering for a president that would be the gravest press freedom threat in decades. That press will be one that could easily be used to put them in a prison cell alongside Assange for the new crime of publishing any document that the U.S. government has decreed should not be published. When it comes to the press freedom threats, such as indictment, would not be in the same universe as name-calling tweets by Trump directed at various TV personalities. When it came to denouncing due process denials and use of torture at Guantanamo, it was not difficult for journalists to set aside their personal dislike for Al-Qaeda sympathizers to denounce the dangers of those human rights and legal abuses. When it comes to free speech assaults, journalists are able to set aside their personal contempt for a person's opinion. Propose the president of the government can punish people for expressing noxious ideas. It should not be this difficult for journalists to set aside their personal emotions about Assange to recognize the profound dangers, not just to press freedom, but to themselves. The U.S. government succeeds in keeping Assange in prison for years to come, all due to its attempts to prosecute him for publishing classified or stolen documents. That's the highly likely scenario once Ecuador hands over Assange to the UK. I say this, they should not even go there. It'd be the biggest mistake they make. I know other people in the press, he's had his battles and disputes and all that. It's very disheartening to see what is going on. Yeah, I usually gets my goat at times from some of these folks. Try to they all think they're smarter than everybody else. One of the areas you have to really focus on, if this becomes a reality, will this be a terrible president? Absolutely mighty. And that's why you gotta always look at a lot bigger than what it is. So you gotta be vigilant, my friends. That's how it really is. So you see something here. Yeah, so it's one of those areas folks gotta really look at, and extremely dangerous indeed. Just gonna hit the back here. That's interesting. Hold on here, it's like I made a little tab. So, to be very frank, it will be something that will make tyrants such as Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Mao Zedong extremely proud. Speaking of this, there's a little view here that came from Truth Day. It came out on the 15th, last week to be exact. It says here, the war on Assange is a war on press freedom. Chris Hedges wrote this. The failure part of the establishment media to defend Julian Assange, who has been trapped in the Ecuadorian embassy in London since 2012, has been denied communication with the outside world since March and appears to be facing imminent expulsion and arrest. It is astonishing. The extradition of the publisher for the maniacal goal of the U.S. government would set a legal precedent that will criminalize any journalistic oversight or investigation of the corporate state. It will turn leaks and whistleblowing into treason. It will shroud into total secrecy the actions of the ruling global elite. If Assange is extradited to the United States and sentenced, the New York Times, Washington Post, and many other media organizations, no matter how typical their coverage of the corporate state, would be subject to the same doctrine censorship under the president sent. Donald Trump's Supreme Court would enthusiastically uphold the arrest and imprisonment of any publisher, editor, or reporter in the name of national security. Yes, the war on terror continues. There are growing signs that the Ecuadorian government of Lenin Moreno is preparing to evict Assange. This came out the 15th, so it's a little bit of an archive, and turn him over to British police. Moreno and his foreign minister, Jose Valencia, have confirmed they are negotiating with the British government to resolve the fate of Assange. Moreno, who will visit Britain in a few weeks, called Assange an inherited problem, and a stone in the shoe, and has referred him as a hacker. It appears under the Moreno government, Assange is no longer welcome in Ecuador. His only hope is now safe passage to his native Australia or another country willing to give him asylum. I hope I'll never meet this guy Moreno, because I will blast his rear end from one end of the county to a region of South Florida to another. Ecuador has been looking for a solution to this problem. Once they come in on television, the refuge is not forever. You cannot expect it to last for years without us reviewing the situation, including because this violates the rights of refugees. North Princess President Rafael Correa, who granted Assange asylum in the embassy and made him an Ecuadorian citizen last year, warned that Assange's days were numbered. He charged that Moreno will cut off Assange's communication the day after Moreno welcomed the delegation from the U.S. Southern Command and throw him out of the embassy at the first pressure from the United States. Belly up, belly up. President Moreno likes to belly up. Pull down your pants to get ahead. That's the tyrannical way. Assange repeatedly is in ill health. Took asylum in the embassy to avoid extradition to Sweden to answer questions about sexual offense charges. He feared that once the Swedish custody for these charges, which he said were false, he would be extradited to the United States. The Swedish prosecutor's office ended its investigation of extradition request to Britain in May 2017 and did not file sexual offense charges against Assange. But the British government said Assange would nevertheless be arrested and jailed for breaching his bail conditions. The prosecution of Assange is part of a broad assault against any capitalist and any imperialist news organization. I wouldn't say anti-capitalist. These people gotta stop using that terminology. Adam Smith is rolling in his grave. Sometimes some of his rhetoric is very, disturbing. The ruling elites who refuse to act responsibly, who for profound for social inequality of the crimes of empires, had no ideology veneer left to justify their greed, ineptitude, and pillage. Global capitalism and its ideological justification, neoliberalism, and discredit as force for democracy and the equitable distribution of wealth. Once again, you gotta use, more broader terms. This is like so it's watered down parody rhetoric. But I will continue on. Let's take global, this is more government. So that right there may be some fine lines, but I will continue on here. The corporate-controlled economic and political system is a heated right-wing populist, as by the rest of the population. This makes critics of the corporatism, imperialism, journalists, writers, dissidents, and intellectuals already pushed to the margins of the media landscape dangerous, and it makes them prime targets. Assange is at the top of the list. Right-wing populists. I don't believe left-right paradigms anymore. Freedom and tyranny is a lot better. Alright. I took part with dozens of others, including Daniel Ellsberg, William Biney, Craig Murray, Peter Van Buren, Salvo Zidek, George Galloway, Cyan Westmoreland a week ago in a 36-hour international online vigil demanding for the freedom for WikiLeaks publisher. The vigil was organized by New Zealand's Internet Party leader Susie Dawson. There was the third Unity 4J vigil since all the Assange's communications with the outside world were served by the Ecuadorian authorities, and visits with him were suspended in March, part of the increased pressure the United States has brought to the Ecuadorian government. Assange has, since March, been allowed to meet only with his attorneys and consular officials from the Australian embassy. The Inter-American Court of Human Rights ruled Friday that those seeking political asylum have the right to take refuge in embassies and diplomatic compounds. The court stated that governments are obliged to provide safe passage out of the country to those granted asylum. The ruling did not name Assange, but it was a powerful rebuke to the British government, which has refused to allow WikiLeaks co-founder safe passage to the airport. The ruling at least no longer have counter arguments to the critics. They have resorted to cruder forms of control. These include censorship, slander, and charter character assassination. With the case of Assange has sadly been successful. Blackmailing, financial strangulation, intimidation, imprisonment under the Espionage Act are branding critics and dissidents as agents of a foreign power and purveyor of fake news. The corporate media amplifies these charges, which have no credibility, which become part of the common vernacular. Through constant repetition, the blacklisting, imprisonment, deportation, tens of thousands of people of conscience during the Red Scares of the 1920s and 50s are back with a vengeance. It is the new McCarthyism. Did Russia attempt to influence the election? Undoubtedly. This is what governments do. The United States interfered in Italy elections from 1945 to 2000, according to Professor Don Levin of Carnegie Mellon University. His statistics do not include numerous coups we orchestrated in the country, such as Greece, Iran, Guatemala, and Chile, or the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba. We indirectly bankrolled the re-election campaign to Russia's buffoonish Boris Yeltsin to the tune of $2.5 billion. But did Russia, as a Democratic Party established claim, swing the election to Trump? No. Trump is not Vladimir Putin's puppet. He is part of the wave of right-wing populists from Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson in Britain, and Viktor Orban in Hungary, who have harnessed the range and frustration both of the economic and political system dominated by global capitalism, and under which the rights and aspirations of working men and women do not matter. The Democratic Party establishment, like the liberal elites in most of the rest of the world, will be swept from power in an open political process devoid of corporate money. The party elite, including Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, is the creation of the corporate state. Yeah, Tweedledee, Tweedledum to be exact. Campaign finance and electoral reform are the last things the party hierarchy intends to champion. It will not call for social political programs that will alienate its corporate masters. This myopia and naked self-interest may ensure the second term for Donald Trump. It may further empower the lunatic fringe that is loyal to Trump. It may continue to erode the credibility of the political system, but the choice before the Democratic Party is the political oblivion or enduring the rule of the demagogues who've chosen the latter. They're not interested in reform. They are determined to silence anyone like Assange who exposes the rot within the ruling class. The Democratic Party establishment benefits from our system of legalized bribery. It benefits from deregulating Wall Street and the fossil fuel industry. It benefits from the endless wars. It benefits from the curtail of civil liberties, from the right of privacy and due process. It benefits from militarized police. It benefits from austerity programs. It benefits from mass incarceration. It is a enabler of tyranny or not an impediment. These things I can't argue with. He's spot on that. Demagogues like Trump, Farage, and Johnson, of course, have no intention of alerting the system of corporate pillage. Rather, they accelerate the pillage, which is what happened with the passage of the massive U.S. tax cuts for corporations. So you have to look at all those areas too. Remember, it's government. You have to expect these things. You know, they could be a fearful servant and a monstrous master. I know, it's paraphrased because George Washington is one that's about that. And it says here, they diverted the public's anger towards demonized groups such as Muslims, undocumented workers, people of color, liberals, intellectuals, artists, feminists, the LGBT communities, and the press. They demonize our blame for social and economic dysfunction, much as Jews are falsely blamed for the Germans' defeat in World War I, and economic collapse that followed. Yeah, we all know this. The fall of the Reich was fiat money. Exactly. The banksters of Germany, central bankers of Germany made that happen in 1922 and 1928. Look up the fall of the Reichsmark. That's how Hitler got to power. The Nazis got more powerful. Corporations such as Goldman Sachs and the Mississippi Decay continue to make a financial killing. The corporate titans who often come out of the elite universities and are groomed in institutions like Harvard Business Schools find these demagogues crude and vulgar. They are embarrassed by the imbecility, megalomania, and incompetence, but they endure their presence rather than permit socialist or leftist politicians to impede their profits and divert government spending to social programs away from weapons, manufacturers, military, private prisons, big banks, hedge funds, fossil fuel, industry, charter schools, private military forces, private intelligence companies, pet programs designed to allow corporations to cannibalize the state. What's interesting about that too, we have a lot, even on the public governmental perspective, they know how to piss money away too. Public government schools, public prisons, you'd be surprised. So it goes both ways. The irony is that there was serious meddling in the presidential election, but did not come from Russia. The Democratic Party outdoing any of the dirty tricks employed by Richard Nixon, purged hundreds of thousands of primary voters from the roll, denied those registered as independents the right to vote in primaries, used superdelegates to swing the vote to Hillary Clinton, hijacked the Democratic National Committee to serve the Clinton campaign, controlled the message of media outlets such as MSNBC and the New York Times, stole the Nevada caucus, spent hundreds of millions of dollars in dark corporate money on the Clinton campaign, and fixed the primary debates. This mentally would stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders, would probably could defeat it. Trump is unmentioned. The party hierarchy would do nothing to reform its corrupt nominating process. And, you know, it is, like I said, it was interesting about that. There's no guarantee. The whole thing is this. In these areas, it was really disturbing about the whole 2016 election. Most of the people were really aren't freedom friendly. All you gotta do is look at their track record and their rhetoric. It's insane. And a lot of people didn't see, a great amount didn't see right through that. Many have, many didn't. They had this little pipe, part of the rats of the pipe, rats that was listening to the piper with this flute and followed him to the pits, the pits of hell, they would say, right? Alright, WikiLeaks exposed much of this corruption when it published tens of thousands of messages hacked from the Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta's email account. The message brought to the light the efforts by the Democratic Party leadership to draw the nomination of Sanders, and they disclosed Clinton's close ties with Wall Street, including the lucrative Wall Street speeches. They also raised questions about conflict of interest with the Clinton Foundation, but Clinton received advanced information on the primary debate question. The Democratic National Committee, for this reason, is leading the Russia hysteria and the prosecution of Assange. They filed a lawsuit that names WikiLeaks and Assange as co-conspirators with Russia and the Trump campaign, an alleged effort to steal the presidential election. I thought it was funny about that. If it was Israel, because co-conspirators with Israel, they'll be having a ticker tape parade and go, "Hallelujah, you're the greatest man out there." There's a lot of double standards, right? But it's not only Assange and WikiLeaks that are being attacked as Russian pawns. For example, the Washington Post which has sided with the Democratic Party in war against Trump without critical analysis, published a report on the blacklist post by the anonymous website Prop or Not. The blacklist was composed of 199 sites that Prop or Not alleged, with no evidence, reliably echo Russian propaganda. More than half of those sites are far-right conspiracy-driven ones. About 20% of the sites were major progressive outlets, including Alternet, Black Agenda Report, Democracy Now!, Naked Capitalism, Truth Dig, Truth Out, Counterpunch, and World Socialist websites. Prop or Not, short for propaganda or not, accuse these sites of disseminating fake news on behalf of Russia. Oh, good grief. And you know what's funny? Because some of these sites I checked out, Truth Dig and Counterpunch and Truth Out. They got some decent stuff, you know. They got some decent material. I would say that and they try to do things a little bit more on all sides. Well, doesn't mean I'm gonna agree with everything what they say, but a lot of stuff, you know, I appreciate them more than the other sites that he addressed. So I will continue on. The Post headline was unequivocal: Russian propaganda effort helped spread fake news during the election, expert say. In addition to offering no evidence, Prop or Not never even disclosed who ran the website. Even so, its charge was used to justify the imposition of algorithms by Google, Facebook, Twitter, and Amazon to direct traffic away from the targeted sites. These algorithms are filters overseen by thousands of evaluators, many hired from the military and security and surveillance apparatus, hunt for keywords such as U.S. military, inequality, and socialism, along with personal names such as Julian Assange, Laura Poitras. The keywords are not known as impressions. Before the imposition of the algorithm, a reader could type in the name Julian Assange and be directed to an article of one of the targeted sites. Other algorithms are put in place. These impressions direct to readers only the mainstream sites such as the Washington Post. Referral traffic and the impressions at most of the targeted sites has plummeted, more often by more than half. The United States was compounded by the abolition of net neutrality. Well, what's this? Now you got decentralized websites and you have community internet are really countering this, so it's really getting that resolved. Any news or media outlet that addresses the reality of a failed democracy, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. Oh my goodness. And exposes the crimes of empire will be targeted. The January 2017 Director of Intelligence Report spent 7 pages on RT America while I have a show on Contact. The report does not accuse RT America of disseminating Russian propaganda, but does allege a network exploits divisions within American society by giving airtime to dissidents and critics, including whistleblowing, anti-imperialists, anti-capitalists, Black Lives Matter activists, anti-fracking campaigners, and the third-party candidates the establishment is seeking to mute. Oh, please. Like I said, that network has pros and cons, but observe responsibly. If the United States had a public broadcasting system free from corporate money and a commercial press that was not under corporate control, these dissident voices would be included in the mainstream discourse, but we don't. Howard Zinn, Noam Chomsky, Malcolm X, Sheldon Rowland, Ralph Nader, James Boland, Susan Sontag, Angela Davis, and Edward Said once appeared regularly on public broadcasting. Now critics like these are banned, replaced with vapid quarters. As columnist David Brooks, RT America is forced to register under the Foreign Agents Registration Act. This act requires Americans who work for foreign parties to register as foreign agents. The FARA registration is part of the broader assault on all independent media, including the effort to silence Julian Assange. And there's even claims that the Russians actually run this. The RT is funded by the Russian government. So, WikiLeaks publication of 2017 of 8,761 CIA files known as Vault 7 appeared to be the final indignity. Vault 7 included a description of the cyber tools used by the CIA to hack into computer systems and devices such as smartphones. Former CIA software engineer Joshua Adam Shuluk was indicted on charge of violating the Espionage Act by allegedly leaking a document. Publication of Vault 7 saw the United States significantly increased its pressure on the Ecuadorian government to isolate and eject Assange from the embassy. Mike Pompeo, then CIA director, said in response to the leak that the U.S. government can no longer Assange and his colleagues the latitude to use the free speech values against us. Attorney General Jeff Sessions said Assange's arrest was a priority. Well, you should turn yourself in for breaching your oath of office and being a treasonous parasite, Mr. Attorney General Jeff Sessions. It is up to us to mobilize to protect Assange. His life is in jeopardy. The Ecuadorian government violated his fundamental rights, has transformed his asylum into a form of incarceration. By cutting off his access to the internet, has deprived him from the ability to communicate and follow world events. The aim of this isolation is to pressure Assange out of the embassy so he can be seized by London police, thrown into a British jail, and then delivered to the hand of Pompeo, John Bolton, and CIA torturers chief Gina Haspel. Assange's courageous and fearless publisher was being persecuted for exposing the crime of the corporate state and imperialism. His defense is his cutting edge of the fight against government suppression of our most important fundamental democratic rights. The Government Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull of Australia, where Assange was born, must be pressured to provide him with the protection to which he is entitled as a citizen, but it must intercede to stop the legal prosecution of the journalist by the British, American, and Ecuadorian governments. It must secure his safe return to Australia. If we fail to protect Assange, we fail to protect ourselves. And right there, he's have to agree on him on that. Like I said, some of the rhetoric in here is a little bit unattractive. However, he's spot on in a lot of areas. That's why the war on the press is the war conflict with ourselves, like the war on terror and all that as well. Now, this is why I tell everybody you gotta see things in a bigger picture. It's very dangerous from what's going on with anyone else. You don't have to like the man. All right, to see things. If you let this thing happen, you create a presence that can dawn on you or your loved one. Even Thomas Paine warned us about this, on protecting liberty and freedom, to even for our enemies. But she is absolutely correct. You don't have to agree with him on everything, but a lot of areas he's spot on too. So what are you gonna do? Let this go? I have a feeling you can blow back in the faces of Britain. They did to Tommy Robinson. So some people may call him a fraud, but when it comes to freedom of the press, freedom of speech, he has the right to be heard, regardless. I'm just tired of people who use defensive mechanisms, forward on it. I could care less. So what do you want? The only way to end this is freedom. Freedom of the press, freedom of speech is a natural born right, regardless where you're from. Folks, you better think real deep before jumping to conclusions. Alright, woo, this is pretty long, so I will be right back. Alright, so without further ado, we're going to continue on here. This came out, I got this originally from Blacklisted News once again, and BigLeaguePolitics.com came out a while back. It says here, more Hollywood sickos exposed for their disgusting sexual thoughts in children by Haley Kennington. It says here, several tweets have come to life from comedian Michael Ian Black that were very similar to James Gunn's recent jokes about rape, pedophilia, and child molestation. This recent trend of digging up tweets from celebrity accounts has revealed something much darker about Hollywood and society as a whole. When you're able to dig up not just one, but literally hundreds of tweets that all mention explicit sexual fantasies, or in some cases actual sex acts with children, what's truly uncovered is a depraved interest in pedophilia. Call it a joke, wrap it up in a bow, put lipstick on a pig, but when jokes about raping children are you go-to punchline, it raises few eyebrows. As one Hollywood's most outspoken critic of President Donald Trump, Michael Ian Black continues to push the idea that NRA is little more than a terrorist organization and uses Twitter to harass Dana Loesch, spokesperson of the National Rifle Association. Another bend over Bob to Hollywood and the globalist Uncle Tom. I'll continue on here. Black is self-proclaimed feminist has taken to Twitter to express some of his twisted sexual thoughts, attempting to pass off as comedy. The tweets that resurfaced this week were filled with the sexual innuendos about children that only those interested in the sick act of pedophilia would relate to, and even pedophiles probably don't consider Black's word as actual comedy. Ian Black also authored a book titled Naked, which a Simon & Schuster review for book for young readers described as a hilarious new book about a boy who refused to wear clothes, an antique of an adorable little boy who just doesn't want to get dressed. After his bath, the little boy begins a hilarious dash around the house in the buff. Being naked is great. Running around, sliding downstairs, eating cookies could be better unless he had a cape. This seems normal. Insert eyes roll. The 46-year-old tweets emerged on the wake of the Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn's similar-style comedy, using social media to describe his fantasies of performing sexual acts with children. Exposure of Gunn's past tweets gained him national attention and resulted him in being fired from Walt Disney Studios on Friday. 6 tweets from Gunn include one that read, "The best thing about being raped is when you're done being raped. It's like, phew, this feels great. I'm not being raped." Okay. Other tweets authored by Gunn that he has since deleted also mention sexual acts with children, people who have AIDS, and a few mention urinating on children. See James Gunn's sick tweets. Let's just check that out. That was an article a couple of days ago, so you can see that for yourselves. I think I'm not gonna go and check it out because I may just want to see them and just leave it at that. Some of Black's more twisted tweets about children include, my days so far, many weeks writing quick baby F more riding picked up kids from school. Idea, sell little containers of jizz as boy caviar. I'm trying to get in touch with my inner child molester. Some lady just changed her baby's boy's diapers right in front of everybody at the gate on impressive penis. Hosting a bunch of 11-year-old girls for a sleepover night, terrified parents will find out. I don't like watching iCarly with my daughter because there's nobody on that show I want to molest. You can see these things yourself. The former Reno 911 actor wrote, "There's nothing to defend," in response to David Greenwald calling for black fans to defend blacks' jokes. I don't even watch Reno 911, okay? Another comedian, Anthony Jeselnik, has some of his tweets resurfaced. They are strikingly similar to both blacks and guns as in context. Some of the tweets that Jeselnik wanted to be sure to share with the world include gems such as the best way to explain an Elmo scandal to kids after effing them. And his other one here is, I want to have sex with you, baby. But if you don't want me to have sex with you, baby, too bad, because you're just a baby. John Benet Ramsey would have turned 23 years old today if she hadn't been so pretty. I find this stuff pretty not so humorous. Good grief. Even a person like myself, loudmouth maverick SOB like myself, for example, don't even go there. Come on. Sarah Silverman has made jokes in the past about child molestation. There's one thing she said here. Hey, it's considered a molestation if a child makes the first move. I'm going to need a quick answer on this. That was on July 9th, 2007, if I'm correct. And of course, some people, but that's supposed to be funny because it wasn't. And AP, on the planet, you have to be standing on the even remotely think this is funny, awful, even 8 years ago. You should have deleted it. As for these disgustingly depraved tweets, one is chance, twice is coincidence, third time is a habit. But if there are dozens, or in James Gunn's case, hundreds of sexual explicit jokes about children, we're supposed to ignore them all, write them off as jokes written in poor taste. What access do the authors of such tweets have to small children? Are we supposed to consider the sexualization of children as normal? These are published thoughts. Can you imagine the thoughts in their heads that don't get published? That's a question. Wow. I'll say this, I am not impressed by any means. Downright disturbing and unacceptable. See, what these tendencies doing is like saying, hey, violators, you know? But I don't find them funny. I find them meek and pathetic. Well, the Church of Hollywood is being bare, rear-ended naked. That's how I look at it. Is why I don't really go watch these stupid, pathetic movies or anything else that's particularly say it's good. It's just garbage. I turn off the idiot vibes. Even on social media, there's a lot of times I don't follow a lot of these clowns. To me, it's a waste of energy. They're out there, yes. That's why I don't have a lot of followers on my page. That's okay. The ones I have, I thank. So, a bunch of them are still, they have more disciples than I do, and it doesn't bother me one bit. But something like this, you got a question. How humorous is it? Even members of the Church of Satan will condemn this with a passion. Late Anton LaVey would say the same thing. What the hell is these SOBs' problem? I'll put a curse on their asses. And I say that in good faith. One thing I know, my friends, the Church of Hollywood is crumbling. We don't need them. They need us. Without the people, they're nothing. All right. Next one here. By Tim Brown, once again. Another almost an hour. I do apologize. So, and this one here is called the Washington Standard. WSJ. Was John Brennan the one who actually engaged in treason? Came out yesterday by Tim Brown. Just up for the Freedom Outpost as well. Well, Sebastian Gorka has been upfront that the former CIA director John Brennan is both a communist and a traitor. Now it appears that the Wall Street Journal Kimberly Strassler may be following the path without coming out and saying it. In a recent article, Strassler seemed to take issue with Brennan's tweet from earlier this week when he tore into President Trump over his action in Helsinki with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump's press conference performance in Helsinki rises to exceed the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors, tweeted Brennan. It was nothing short of treason, added Brennan, who worked for that. Could be argued was the most treasonous person to sit in Oval Office. Yeah, I mean, this Trump hasn't done his homework. He's lying to you people. Not only were Trump's comments imbecilic, he is wholly in the pocket of Putin. Republican patriots, where are you? And he said it on his Twitter account. You got people out there loving it. Good grief. How distasteful. According to Ms. Stansel, this is rough stuff, even for an Obama partisan. Then she then wrote, that was Mr. Brennan that's what Mr. Brennan is, a partisan, and why his whole role in the 2016 scandal is in some ways more concerning than the FBI, Mr. Comey stands accused of flouting the rules, breaking the chain of command, abusing investigatory powers, yet it seems far likelier that the FBI Trump's investigation was a function of ignorant arrogance and overconfidence as some partisan plot. No such case can be made for Mr. Brennan. Before his nomination as CIA director, he served as a close Obama advisor, and the records show he went on to use his position as head of the most powerful spy agency in the world to assist Hillary Clinton's campaign and keep his job. Mr. Brennan has taken credit for launching the Trump investigation at the House Intelligence Committee hearing in May 2017. He explained that he became aware of intelligence and information about the contacts between Russian officials and the U.S. person. The CIA can't investigate U.S. citizens, but he made sure that every information and a bit of intelligence was shared with the Bureau, meaning the FBI. This information, he said, served as the basis for the FBI investigation. My sources suggest Mr. Brennan was overstated his initial role, but either way, by his own testimony, he as a Obama Clinton partisan was pushing information to the FBI and pressuring it to act. More notable, Mr. Brennan then took the lead on shaping the narrative that Russia was interfering in elections specifically to help Mr. Trump, which has quickly evolved into the Trump collision narrative. Team Clinton was eager to make the claim, especially in the light of the Democratic National Committee's server hack. Numerous reports show Mr. Brennan aggressively pushing the same line internally. Their problem was that of the July 2016, then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper didn't buy it. He publicly refused to say who was responsible for the hack or ascribe motivation. Mr. Brennan also couldn't get the FBI to sign on to the view. The Bureau continued to believe Russian cyber attacks were aimed at disrupting the U.S. political system generally, not aiding Mr. Trump. Think about that just a moment, because on Saturday I reported on the fact that the sources that have claimed the former FBI attorney Lisa Page has begun to testify under oath that there was absolutely no basis for the Mueller investigation into Trump. In that report, I referenced to John Solomon's claim that for any American who wants an answer sooner, they're just 5 words. among the thousands of suggested text, page, and Zurich exchange that you should read. The passage was transmitted on May 19, 2017. There is no big there. There. Zurich text. Zurich text. Sturzak text. Excuse me. The date of the text long has intrigued investigators. It is 2 days after Deputy Attorney General Rod Reinstein named Special Counsel Robert Mueller to oversee the investigation and to alleged collusion between Trump and the Russian campaign. Since the text was turned over to Congress, investigators wondered whether it referred to evidence against Trump campaign. This month, they finally got a chance to ask. Sturzak declined to say, but Page, during a closed-door interview with lawmakers, confirming the most pain and contorted the way that the message, in fact, referred to the quality of the Russia case. According to multiple eyewitnesses, the admission is deeply quintessential. It means Rothstein unleashes the most awesome powers for a special counsel to investigate an allegation that the key FBI officials driving the investigation for months beforehand did not think was there. Grasso continued, the CIA director couldn't himself go public with his Clinton spin. He lacked the support of the intelligence community and had to be careful not to be seen interfering in U.S. politics. So what to do? He called Harry Reid. What a great man, right? In a late August briefing, he told the Senate Minority Leader that Russia was trying to help Mr. Trump to win the election and that Trump advisors might be colluding with Russia. 2 years later, no public evidence has emerged to support such a claim. Well, the truth that was more irrelevant on cue. Within a few days of the briefing, Mr. Reid wrote a letter to Mr. Comey, which, of course, immediately became public. The evidence of a direct connection between the Russian government and Donald Trump's presidential campaign continues to mount. Wrote Mr. Reid, going on a float, Team Trump's Russians are helping Trump theory. Mr. Reid publicly divulged at least one of the allegations contained in the infamous Steele dossier, insisting that the FBI use every resource available to investigate this matter. The Reid letter marked the first official blast of the Brennan-Clinton collision narrative into the open campaign opposition. Research firm Fusion GPS, followed by the briefing. Its media allies about the dossier they had dropped off at the FBI on September 23rd. Yahoo News' Michael Isikoff ran the headline, U.S. Intel's official probe ties between Trump advisor and the Kremlin. Volia not only was the collusion narrative out there, but so was evidence that the FBI was investigating. In their recent book, Russian Roulette, Mr. Isikoff and David Korn say even Mr. Reid believed Mr. Brennan had an ulterior motive with the briefing, and concluded the CIA chief believed the public need to know about the Russian operation, including the information about the possible links to the Trump campaign. Brennan allies have defined his aim to leak damaging information. Clinton supporters have a plausible case that Mr. Comey's late October announcement that the FBI reopened its investigation for the candidate affected the election, but Trump supporters have claimed the public outing of the collision narrative and FBI investigation took a toll on their candidate. Politics was at the center of the outing, and Mr. Brennan was a ringmaster. Remembered that when reading his next treason tweet. Indeed, remember it, Brennan was Obama's Muslim covert for jihad here in the U.S. When men like John Brennan point their fingers at others and cry treason, they are attempting to pin the very crime they are guilty of on someone else. Mistrust them, while not being as forthright as Gorka about Brennan's treason, nevertheless seems to be saying just that in what she wrote. America will do well to listen and bring justice to bear upon this traitor and the traitors surrounding him. But I have my doubts that anyone in this life will actually hold him accountable. And you can't blame the person. You can't blame them for it. But one thing you have to see, what Mr. Brown is saying. Who's going to file charges against John Brennan? Well, here's the thing. He used to be a CIA agent. He probably may have a I love real men worship J. Edgar Hoover. Okay, so you have to look at what this snake in the grass is doing. And like, don't be wrong, I'm critical of Donald Trump as well on some of his action. But this whole Russian collusion thing is dumb, old, stagnant history. Beating the dead horse over and over again. Why is that? Because they're that desperate. One of the things I gotta say, both major parties are in turmoil. The Democratic National Committee has proven they're in the worst shape in a long time. People are waking up. Even the ones that are not crazy about the President Trump and his administration. They're seeing right through the facade. That's the only way to get them. And it's been saying all this time, even the newspapers like the New York Times said there was no connection. There, my friends, I say treasonous. But probably people in the House and the Senate don't want to prosecute the Attorney General because they got a lot. They have skeletons in their closet, which affects the United States' best interest for the people. Woo, yeah, that is true, my friends. So, do one more here. That was a little bit over an hour. That's pretty amazing. Had no intent to go that far. So, sorry about that. And we'll do one more here. And this one came out yesterday, if I'm correct, a couple of days ago. Yeah. Rollcall.com. Oath Keepers cancel Waters protest for over safety concerns. Court counter-protesters showed up in force to confront far-right groups. An anti-government group that's known for dressing in military gear and carrying military-grade weapons at events abruptly canceled at a protest outside Maxine Warden's South Central Los Angeles office Thursday, citing safety concerns. Dozens of counter-protesters show up in force to confront the Oath Keepers, the far-right group that claims 35 members nationwide. Call them the far-right. See this whole left-right paradigm garbage? Come on. I'll proceed. Waters, the Golden State Democrat, has previously urged her supporters to stay away from Oath Keepers demonstrations. The group would like nothing to do than inflame a racial tension and creative explosive conflict in our community, she said in a statement. One big bald-faced liar she is, the Aunt Esther of Congress. But Oath Keepers were the ones who avoided the potential for any conflict Thursday as they no-show their own event. In a news release Thursday, the group said its team leader, Johnny Elong, heard from the Los Angeles Police Department that busloads of counter-protesters have planted themselves outside Waters' office to face them. How much they're being paid to be there. Some carry steel pipes and baseball bats, the Oath Keepers allege. The LAPD cannot guarantee the safety of any protesters and strongly advise the protest not to be held because of the danger, the group said in its release. And technically, the police aren't obligated to protect you anyway. Well, no law in good faith. It canceled its event, citing the high likelihood of violence and our concern for other organizations planning to protest, such as a group called MGA Girls. Many of the counter-protesters claim that they were not there to be baited into confrontations, Los Angeles Times reported. We're here to defend our community and the members of our union against the hostile threat of this violent organization that's come into our neighborhood with an agenda that is opposed to our interests, union organizer Cliff Smith told the paper. Do your homework, Junior, before listening to bobbleheads. Brother Smith, with all due respect. The counter-protesters' mood at a rally Thursday remained festive for the most of the day, the LA Times reported. At times, however, it veered off course. At one point, some counter-protesters surrounded a pickup truck and pulled an American flag off it. They found lighter fluid and burned a flag, chanting America was never great. So it was okay to take someone's property and desecrate it. The Oath Keeper's original event was scheduled to protest Waters for comments she made in June, criticizing members of President Trump's cabinet. Walters received criticism from Republicans and Democrats alike as she told supporters at a rally last month continue protest the miles of officials in public and refused to let them be served at local businesses until they put their foot down on some of Trump's more controversial policies. If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in the department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd, you push them back, and you tell them you're not welcome anymore anywhere, Waters said at a rally. Trump falsely claimed that Waters encouraged her backers to harm supporters the Make America Great Again movement. The Oath Keepers allege that Waters is inciting far-left terrorist violence and threats of violence. And of course, you see Charles Schumer says both ways, but we all know Charles Schumer in the video, he's nothing more than a freedom-hating sap as well. One of these areas you gotta look at, my friends, it does violate congressional ethics. I don't give a damn what party she's in. It don't matter to me. I go over principle. If your principles are pathetic, unmeritable, and weak, I'm not afraid to call you folks out. She's desperate. I think she may be gone menopause for all we know. I'm not wishing her any ill or disorder, but one thing right now, I know one thing for sure, she doesn't have her marbles straight. Her and Jeff Sessions should get married, for goodness sakes. Like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. But one of these areas you gotta look at too, and the fact is that the leader of Oath Keepers, he's white Hispanic. Oh my goodness! So that's why you gotta always see things in the bigger picture. I'll tell everyone out there, do yourself a favor. When you're gonna go counter-protest certain groups, do your homework. Don't listen to these idiots that talk out of their rear end. You're gonna fall for it. It's like saying that Jim Jones is my role model. That's what you're saying. I'm talking about from either side as well. It doesn't matter. But something like this, harassing people is not gonna fly. It's gonna backfire. It's gonna interfere with businesses. I guarantee you one thing. A lot of them will be filing Chapter 11 when this comes down. What are you gonna do? Have Maxine Waters help you? She'll laugh at you. She can care less. Don't listen to these clowns. I just laugh at them. Like I laugh at all these idiots out here too. These so-called servants, they claim they're lawyers, and they say they're lawyers, and they're terrible at what they do. And they breach their oath. Regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, I do my homework, friends. You should too. Have merit, don't be a parrot when it comes to criticizing these servants. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening, plus feel free to download and share us with social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you're saying something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondences with the column. And you can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network. They do need some money, so please donate to them at the best you can at freedomsnetwork.com, minds.com, jeanette.club, patreon.com/3 eyes, Gab, yours.org, oneway.com, buddylist.co. In addition, email me at lookyluck3@gmail.com or to your encrypted ones, mainly with the Proton Mail account, lookyluck03@protonmail.com. Alright, my friends, once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is helpful for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourself. Keep on spreading love. May your guardian spirits be with you.